Hi, I'm Tori, and today I'm going to be discussing the book Sex from Scratch by Sarah Mirk. I listened to the audiobook narrated by Danny Hurd. This book was first published in 2014, and I read the second edition, which I believe was updated in 2021. This book was amazing, and it just spoke to me so much. So the basic premise of this book is that there are a lot of expectations that our society has around relationships. And those expectations are there mostly because of tradition, because that's the way the generations before us did it, because that's the way that religious groups expect it to be done, because that's the way it's always been, whatever the reason. A lot of people tend to approach relationships and approach how they'll interact with people just based on the knowledge that this is how it's supposed to be, and they don't put a lot of intention into that and really think about what they need and what works for them and what will make their life fulfilling, meaningful, and happy. And so this book is just kind of a look at all different relationship models. The author has experienced quite a few of these different models, but then she's also done a ton of research and traveled all over the United States interviewing different people to get their ideas, their thoughts and opinions, hear how they live their lives and why they decided to do it that way. And the idea isn't that you have to break with tradition because tradition is bad. The idea is that if you decide that what will absolutely make you happy is having a heterosexual marriage where you have 2.5 kids and the man works and the woman stays home and raises them, and you meet every stereotype that's known to man, that's great as long as you're doing it with intention and you are choosing to do that because that's what makes you happy. And as long as that's fulfilling to you, that's wonderful. But if something else is fulfilling to you, you should also be open to exploring that too, so that you should just kind of think about what you want in a relationship and don't necessarily let our culture and the world around you tell you what will make you happy. And you should just kind of look out into the world and see what it has to offer and choose the path that is right for you. So the book is broken into 7 different sections. The first one is about being single, and that's something our society kind of expects men to enjoy, but not women. And that's just not true. Anybody can enjoy that. There are some people who really love the feeling of just kind of going out with a bunch of different people, not really settling down, not really committing to a relationship, and that everyone should be allowed to find fulfillment in that, women and men alike. The next section is about feminism and how it can be a struggle to have a well-balanced, equal, caring relationship. And there are a lot of pretty sexist ideas embedded into our culture, and you sometimes have to work pretty hard to kind of crawl out of that and make a relationship that will be fulfilling to all of the people in it. And I had some really good interviews with people who talked about the things they did in their relationships to try to keep things comfortable and equal and supportive for everybody. The third chapter was about open relationships and all the different models there are for that. And it's very traditional to assume that you will have 2 people in a relationship. Those 2 people will be a man and a woman. They will only be with each other. There are no other options. And there are so many different options out there. So it talked a lot about all the different models there are. There can be a couple who kind of likes to swing with other couples, but the rest of the time they're just with themselves. There can be relationships that have more than just 2 people in them, that are a whole group of people equally in a relationship. There are relationships where there's like 2 people in a pair, but then they have girlfriends and boyfriends outside of that as well. There are just so many different models and so many different ways that people can have very healthy, honest, communicative relationships. The 4th chapter was about the fluid nature of gender and all the different ways that people can express themselves, the way that gender can be confining and the different ways that people combat that, and the different ways that people just kind of choose to define themselves and what really feels right to them. The next 2 chapters were about being childless by choice and about making the choice to not get married. And that both of those things can be very fulfilling and very gratifying, but they're not mandatory. And there are people who lead very happy, fulfilling lives without those things. And then the final chapter was about how to have a healthy breakup and know when it's time to leave a relationship. And just because a relationship ends, that doesn't mean that it was a failure. You can have a very successful, healthy relationship that just ran its course and now you're ready to move on. And it was just done with so much care and love and compassion, and I just thought it was a wonderful supportive chapter. This whole book was amazing. There were so many concepts in it that I deeply identify with, and it was so wonderful to hear all these other stories about people who feel the same way, and all the different ways that people choose to express themselves and find happiness. And it was just so wonderful to... And it made me feel like I was just in this big room full of supportive people, welcoming whatever choices you choose to make, whatever you choose to be happy. It's fine, it's valid, it's completely wonderful. And you can live a happy, healthy, fulfilling life with wonderful, compassionate relationships in whatever way feels the most natural and the most wonderful for you.